Recently, I talked about NordVPN and the importance of having a VPN to deal with the problems that may come from Article 13. Well, your own safety may actually be at risk if you don't have a VPN, if you're traveling a lot, or if you're in unsecured wireless networks. Boogie from YouTube, very big YouTuber, once got hacked prior to him having NordVPN. Right now, you can try NordVPN at nordvpn.com/geekdom. Use the code geekdom. I'll leave a link down below in the description, and you will get 75% off a 3-year plan, which is less than $3 a month for 3 years. And here's what you got to understand. It works on all your devices, including mobile devices too. So if you're in some weird hotel or somewhere in a different state or different country even, NordVPN will protect you from having anybody have access to your stuff. Even Boogie got hacked, so it can happen to you. Thanks again to Nord for sponsoring this video. nordvpn.com/geekdom. Try it out for 75% off. Oh, and don't forget, you get a free month too. Ultra Instinct Goku, Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. These are the highest powers that we've seen Goku and Vegeta achieve individually in Dragon Ball Super. And I want to talk about the differences between the two power-ups, the two transformations, from a philosophical and from a martial arts perspective. What is the actual philosophy behind these forms? What makes them different? And where did Japan, I suppose, got the concepts behind these forms? So joining me to discuss this, when it's martial arts, who else could it be but Kendamu?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I'm glad you're back. It's been far too long. It's been like 3-4 months.
I think so. Yeah, it's been a really long time.
You know, and what's funny is the last time you were here, we talked about Super Saiyan Green Vegeta and the Goku technique where it can freeze you. And that's become like a big topic of discussion amongst the fandom since then. So I'm glad that we were able to be one of the first ones to talk about it.
Yeah, that was a really big thing for me. Like, we were watching it in the theater together, and you saw my reaction when Goku did that, followed by the judo throw and all that stuff. That was pretty rad. I'm glad that a lot of other people are discussing it too.
Let's talk about it, okay? Super Saiyan Blue Evolution versus Ultra Instinct. Now, of course, the way Ultra Instinct worked in the anime was, as Whis would describe it, Migate no Gokui, the mastery of self-movement. It's all based on instinctual body movements. You don't think. Like Tom Cruise said in Top Gun, if you think, you're dead. And essentially, that's how Ultra Instinct works. It's your body moving on its own. However, Blue Evolution is a different philosophy. That is all about anger. It's all about your own pride. The two things that make up who Vegeta is, coming together and tapping into a higher level of power through desire. Whereas I feel like Ultra Instinct is a bit more emotionless.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Like, with Blue Evolution, you're sort of looking at not just like anger as much. I mean, Vegeta can be kind of like an anger motivated kind of guy, but it's not so much just anger, but it's feeling. It's digging deep into what really drives you and motivates you in order to bring out that extra power, which is something that you've seen in Dragon Ball before and plenty of other anime. You know, everything's going badly, and then person turns around, they dig really deep, and they happen to bring out just this energy that allows them to keep going forward. And Vegeta just applied that to Blue. And I guess you would say in a real life martial arts context would have a lot to do with the idea of having just an overwhelming mental energy, an overwhelming key power compared to your opponent. Your presence in front of your opponent is just so overwhelming. When someone like walks into a room and they just kind of have a presence to them that everyone takes notice, like that being used offensively. Like, that's sort of what Blue Evolution is just having so much going on just from like digging in and showing who you are in like a very, I don't want to say self-centered, because self-centered sounds like selfish, but like in a very
centralistic, I guess would be the term.
Centralistic sort of way. It's like it's all about yourself and projecting yourself from within outward.
When it comes to emotion and fighting in the real world, I feel like emotion could be a double-edged sword, because I feel like with emotion, if you're fighting somebody who you're really angry at, you may have a tendency to be more angry and thus be more aggressive and thus maybe feel less pain because of more adrenaline going through your body, or maybe hit harder. But at the same time, you're also more prone to making mistakes. I mean, am I right on that? Do you think that kind of mentality is what they're trying to tell us here with Blue Evolution and Ultra Instinct?
Okay, so I know that you're a fan of Bruce Lee movies. I know that you've watched them. And the biggest one that like anybody can find clips of, that anybody can see like really easily, was Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
And you remember toward the beginning of Enter the Dragon, he's trying to teach the young monk boy, about putting feeling behind your technique. And then he says, do that kick again. And the boy puts anger into it. And he goes, no, that's anger. I said, put feeling into it. Like he's asking the boy to put mental energy in, to put intention behind it.
There's a difference. That's interesting. Could continue with that. That's interesting.
And that's really sort of the lesson here as to where it diverges, where like you want to have intention behind it. You want to have feeling behind it. You want to mean it, because that's going to be where that extra power comes from, that extra effectiveness in that technique comes from when it comes to just trying to overwhelm someone with your ki, as opposed to what Goku is doing with Ultra Instinct, which that is pretty much like the power of nothingness. If you know about like Street Fighter, there's the Satsui no Hado, which Akuma does. And then you have like the power of nothingness, which is kind of what Goken and Ryu do. And it's the same thing with Goku and Ultra Instinct. I mean, you could call it a technique, you could call it a transformation. And like in terms of just Dragon Ball proper, it probably is. But when you relate it back to martial arts, it's again, using Bruce Lee as an example, it's using no way as a way, all forms, all that. And rather than thinking of it as like a technique, you would think of it as what in Japan would be called mushin, or no mind, which is to sort of act in accordance with nature and nothing else.
That's why his eyes are like kind of silvery and kind of like he's glazed out, like he's sort of in a trance. That's where you're...
And I've talked about this before on my own YouTube, like months back. There was a video about the real life Ultra Instinct that I did. And in that one, what I ended up doing was talking about how there are moments in your life where you just kind of do something automatically. You see something falling that's going to hit the floor and break, and you just kind of, without thinking, you catch it. Something's coming at you, and you just move out of the way without thinking about it. Or if someone's in martial arts, for example, like they're practicing a technique that, they're really trying to get down, like a combination or like a submission or something like that. It comes to a point eventually where they're doing it live against an opponent, and they just do it without thinking about it. And with that, like, once you start putting yourself back into that, like, if you're in the middle of doing this arm bar, and in the middle of it, you're going, oh crap, I'm doing an arm bar. You're now observing the moment. The moment is past. You're not actually in the moment anymore.
It's instinct. I mean, it really is. I mean, obviously that's not the original translation, but that's what it is. When you wake up in the morning, you don't say, I'm going to the restroom to go pee, even though I'm sure some of us do. We just go get up and go pee. It's just something that you're instinctually going to do.
Right. And like another example, say like anybody who's watching this, they drive to work or to school or whatever, and they take that same route, 5 days a week. There are times where you just drive to work and you don't even think about the drive. You're just responding to all the traffic around you and everything, and you're just kind of doing whatever. And then like, once you're like mostly there, you're like, wow, I just made most of this drive and I don't even remember doing it. And that's kind of the same thing. But once you're
zone out.
Yeah, you just kind of do it, and you're not like zoned out, like you're not paying attention. You're just like, it's just all happening automatically because you've done it so many times, and you can just kind of automatically do it. And once you realize, oh crap, I've been doing this the whole time without paying attention, what do you start doing? You start paying attention again, and you start doing all these moves consciously again. You start driving in a conscious manner again, and that's when things get a little more like, you're going to have to multitask, where before you were just doing it.
So when it comes to Dragon Ball and these transformations, what about the whole thing where Goku is in Mastered Ultra Instinct fighting Jiren? Jiren's about to attack his friends and family, and he rages out. It's almost like he lost himself, was able to retain the power of Ultra Instinct, but he still went into his emotions, which is what you're not supposed to do when you're in Ultra Instinct.
Right. And like, for all intents and purposes in real life, like that would sort of pull you out of that Mushin no mind sort of way of things, and put you back more towards what Vegeta's doing, which is to really dig deep and, put all of his, motivation behind what he's doing to pull out even more energy, which it has its place to do that. With Goku, it seems that he went there, but then like he saw the thing that made him mad, but then his response to the thing that made him mad was automatic. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Really, if they wanted to animate it the way it like really goes in real life, like he would see that, he would get mad. When he got mad, he would drop out of it, and then he would just burst back into it as he went in to respond.
Which would have been a cool animation, too, if they had done it like that. That would have been pretty cool.
It would have been, but I don't know if anybody who set up that scene was thinking that deeply about it, or if they were just kind of like, cool, we've got the concept across. We'll try and stay with the general concept, but otherwise, this is all entertainment.
Kind of like how in Battle of the Gods, he retained his god power for a little while, even though he lost his Super Saiyan God form, in that movie. Kind of similar in that aspect anyways.
Very similar.
Yeah. So when it comes to Blue Evolution, Ultra Instinct, Blue Evolution's all emotion-based, Ultra Instinct is not. Which one makes the most sense for real-life combat? Even though I feel like sometimes controlling your emotions can be hard, at the same time, you kind of have to. It's discipline, right?
With real life, you don't want to do just one or just the other. One thing that is important in training for fighting is to be able to consistently push yourself further than you actually think you can go.
Of course.
And
it's the shonen way.
Right? And part of making that work in training, say like that there's after we do all the technique stuff, like we do our warm-ups, we do all of our technique stuff, we do all of our rolling in jiu-jitsu, and then after that, coach says, okay, we're going to do about 1,000 ab exercises before I let you get out of here. Right? And everybody's already tired and all that stuff. You really have to dig deep and really pull out some motivation, some emotion and whatnot into it in order to be able to get through those ab exercises, to be able to pull out that extra whatever that you didn't know you had or that was just kind of like sleeping within you, right? It's all mental energy at that point, bringing you forward. And it's all intention, it's all feeling. And that right there will help you overall become more fit and become more strong and become better at your techniques and whatnot to do that during training. But during actual live sparring, during live rolling, during fighting, whatever, like maybe like going into it when you have the jitters and stuff like that, it's good to get yourself motivated. It's good to use feeling and emotion and whatnot to get yourself centered, to go, okay, I'm going to take this person down.
Goku and Vegeta do it all the time.
Right. But then once the fighting actually starts, you've got to learn to be relaxed and move automatically. Boss Rutan, you know who Boss Rutan is because
of course,
you know Japanese MMA, and then everybody else, he did UFC a little bit, but like
he was the heavyweight champion.
Like for example, like you remember in his Pancrase fights, he had on the back of his hand, he had an R written on his hand. I don't know if you remember that, but he had it written with a permanent marker.
I don't recall, but keep going.
But like if you look at the clips, you'll see it there. He has like in a lot of his Pancrase fights from back in the day, he has an R written on his hand in permanent marker. That R, when someone asks him about it, it means relax. So he would see the back of his hands because, you have to hit with open palms in Pancrase. And he would see the back of his hands and it would remind him to relax. And when he relaxed, he would flow more naturally. When he was walking out there, when he was getting ready and everything, you saw him pumped and energetic and ready to go. And he's, really putting on a show and everything. And so like, that's where you got like Blue helps there. And then you've got Ultra Instinct helps once the fighting actually starts. Like you pull that energy out and then you apply it in the most natural way.
So it makes you wonder who's going to discover to do both first. Will Goku figure out Blue first or will Vegeta figure out UI first? You really should be charging for this information, but I thank you for being here. And everybody check out Kendamu. I will leave links down below. Do you have any final thoughts?
Really wanting to see more Super because I want to see where this goes too.
Soon. It'll happen soon. Thanks again, and we'll talk to y'all next time.